Today's hike was to Verde Hot Springs. It was a brisk 30 degrees when we reached Camp Verde for our breakfast burrito. And then it's about, 20-30 miles on a dusty, bumpy dirt road to get there. Fortunately, we're in Kelly's truck today, but we did reach the Verde River, and on the trail to the hot springs, we saw nudity prohibited. Kelly gave it a thumbs down. I'm not sure why or what that meant, but I got scared when he started to take his shirt off.
All right, Jerry, you're on video.
We're heading to Verde Hot Springs.
The river crossing 1 mile.
It's unlikely we make it.
It's cold.
It's going.
All right, this was one great idea. I thought, you know what? I'm going to do Jerry a favor, and I'm going to point out the utter absurdity of trying to cross this river in 57-degree weather. I was going to say, let's wait till spring, but no.
57? What makes you think it's that warm? It's
Okay,
over.
50-degree weather.
It's in the 40s.
And we're going to go up to our chest to get across to the other side to see Verde Hot Springs. This trip isn't a complete fail. We will come back in the summer for Verde Hot Springs trip number 2.
Oh, it's beautiful though.
It is beautiful.
Well, we knew there's no way we'd be able to cross this river 3 times. We headed out anyway. The first thing we came across, besides the nudity sign, was this abandoned power plant. Of course, Kelly had to check it out.
I don't know where the heck.
I assume where the water ran through.
Okay, now you got to talk on my video. Where are we?
We are at the abandoned child's power plant. I'm going to turn my video off, which I remember from many years ago I thought looked like an oasis.
We're now walking around the abandoned power plant.
This was the locker where people put their helmets and safety equipment that they had used. This is actually pretty cool. I kind of like old.
This is out off the Verde River.
Oh, I smell skunk. Okay, I took you to the lift.
Transfer station still looks in use. The rest of this, not much. This was Kelly's boyhood wonderland, he says, which says a lot about him.
Though we had our doubts that we'd actually find the hot spring, it was kind of cool to see this abandoned power station, the old foundations, and evidence of where houses used to be. I'm not sure what this was, but I took a picture. We spent enough time at the power plant, so it was time to head out on our trail down the Verde River toward what we hoped would be the hot springs. Well, we still were pretty certain that due to the cold weather and what we knew would be freezing cold water, that we'd never be able to cross the stream to get there. We maintained a positive attitude and kept moving forward. We passed trees that had been toppled by beavers, cactus that was suffering from the drought, but the beautiful water. And we also found this, an abandoned swimming suit. It made us fearful from those signs we'd seen. And then there it is, a wall. We knew that the wall and the palm trees were a sign that we were at the old abandoned resort, the hot springs. But first, we had to figure out a way across this river. I used Kelly as kind of the guinea pig or canary and let him go first. And if he makes it, I figure I've probably got a good chance that I can make it too. Fortunately, we found a shallower area, because any deeper and we'd have never made it.
Oh, that's cold. Oh, that's cold.
At first the water just feels cold. Then it feels like 1,000 needles poking into you. I know if we were wading up to our neck, hypothermia would have set in before we would have been able to cross. Once we crossed the river and got on a trail, we could look down and see the hot spring. Unfortunately, there were a couple people in it. But fortunately, they had on swimming suits.
Verde Hot Springs, we're coming up to it.
Whoever doubted that we'd find it or that we'd not be able to cross the river? Not I. And as you can see, there's no rules at the hot springs. It's a beautiful area, and the hot spring sits about 20 feet above the river. Crystal clear, beautiful river, and the hot spring runs, depending which one you're in, from about 90 degrees to 104.
There's a cave in there.
Right there? Does it?
It goes back in there like this way, like 10 feet.
Oh, really? Cool.
I don't know if your line will get it.
You know what? I have a flashlight, but I left it at the crossing.
I decided to check out the cave, see if it was the source of some of the hot water. But nothing too exciting in there, so I quickly came out. And here's the Verde Hot Springs. And our two new buddies we just met.
Verde Hot Springs. I never knew it was here.
It's here, man. You got to get in the water, dude.
Well, I'm going to dip the toes.
Somewhere in the early
At
1900s
least.
is when this place was made.
When was it?
Early 1900s.
Yeah, I heard like
1922.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
There was a whole hotel and everything.
Why did they go down there? I mean,
It burnt down in 62. The hotel did. The bottom part of the hotel was all rock like this,
yeah.
and then the top part was framed with wood, and the second floor and the roof. And in 62, it caught on fire and it burned down and collapsed in.
Wow.
But then the hippies came in sometime later and cleaned it out.
Yeah.
And it was rock, and they put the tarps up. They started living down here.
So there's a quick history on the place. Apparently it was quite the place in the early days when jazz was popular. It was even said that it was a vacation spot of Al Capone. It felt great to soak my feet in the hot water on a nice cool day, looking out across the Verde River. Just a cool place to be. And now our two buddies had moved to another one of the hot pools, so we kind of had the place to ourselves. Looking at all the artwork, every rock on these walls is painted. And as I debated whether I should go all the way in, I thought, well, once my swimsuit and shorts are wet, I don't know that I want to hike out of here in 40-degree weather and across the freezing pool. So ultimately, I decided just to stick with getting my feet wet. Kelly talked to his new buddies. Then we also saw this sign, so I guess you need to watch for Bigfoot. This area has the hottest water, and figured it was a good place to stand and warm my feet up before we headed back, and we'd have that hike across the cold river. First, a few of the pictures of the walls and some of the artwork. Just kind of interesting. I wasn't looking forward to wading back across the river, but at least I was warmed up and ready for it.
So what you cannot realize is how much this water actually hurts. You're in pain. Turn around, Jerry, and tell us how it feels.
It's too cold to turn around.
Eddie, don't fall now. Great, I have to try to hold this phone. How do I turn it off? Hit the square?
We hiked back along the old power station road, seeing the old remnants, but basically just thrilled that we actually found the hot spring and we were able to see it. So now the long ride home